right now, if you did not write your name, number, and date at the top, use your red pen to write your name, number, and date at the top. Okay, sorry, I don't need to see because I already looked at it. So just make sure that you've done that. And then let's see, Zari, can you tilt it down just a little so that I can see you and your paper?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So right now, if you do not have your name, number, and date at the top, use your red pen. It is halfway through the second quarter, so that should be being done. Also, it should be done because you've been doing it for the past 5 years. Okay, number 1. It says circle the example that correctly shows how to use the distributive property to find the product of 5 times 15. Cullen.
The first one.
So tell me what it says loudly.
Parentheses 5 times 10 parentheses plus 5 times 5.
Good. So the first one, parentheses 5 times 10 parentheses plus parentheses 5 times 5 parentheses is the correct way to show or to use distributive property to find the product of 5 times 15. Because Colin, what is the very first thing we do when we're doing distributive property?
We break down the larger factor
Into, what's that math word? Michaela? Expanded form. So Cullen, our larger factor is 15. If we break it down into expanded form, it looks like what?
10 plus 5.
10 plus 5. Then when we write our equation, we're using parentheses and operations to show that we are doing what? What are we doing here? We're taking which factor?
5.
Well, no matter what the problem, which factor do we take?
The smaller factor.
The smaller factor, and we do what operation?
Multiplication.
By the larger factor or by each piece of the larger factor?
Each piece of the larger factor.
Good. So we find, and what is that math word that tells us what each of these are? The answers to each of these smaller multiplication problems are the what? What is that math word?
Quotient.
Not quote. They are quotients, but well, no, they're not quotients because quotients are the answers to what type of problem?
Multiplication.
Not multiplication. Quotients are the answers to what type of problems? Kingston. Division. Are we doing division? The answers to each of these pieces, what is that math word? Girls at home, you could answer too. What is that math word that tells us the answer to each of these pieces? Michaela. The partial products. Whenever we get partial products, remember, that is the product of a part of our problem. And then to get our final answer, we do what with those partial products? Class?
Add them together.
We add them. Okay, let me get my jacket really quick. Pause Okay, number 2. Explain how to use partial products to multiply. Explain how to use partial products to multiply. Ethan, what did you say? Loudly, so I can hear you. Okay, but how? Who can help him out? How do we use partial products to multiply? Victoria? Loudly, I can hear you.
You can use partial products to multiply by a multi-digit number.
Okay, well, how do we use them? That's when we use them, but that's not what the question says. The question doesn't say explain when to use partial products to multiply. It says explain how. How and when are two completely different questions. Zadie.
You take partial partial products and add them.
Okay, well, how do I find the partial products? Zari? You guys are giving me like half an answer or an answer to a completely different question.
You can use partial products to multiply a one-digit number by two digits.
Okay, that's what we've already said. You're telling me when. The question doesn't say explain when to use partial products. It says explain how. So Zadie had part of the answer. A lot of you, two people have already said that exact same answer. And I repeated it, so you need to make sure that you're listening. Some of you told me, which a lot of you probably wrote this, you use it to find the answer to multiplication with larger digits. Well, that answers the question, explain when to use partial products to multiply. Carla, put your hand down, please. That answers the question, explain when to use partial products to multiply. Does this question say, Smith, make sure you're listening, does this question say, explain when to use partial products to multiply? No. Do when and how mean the same thing? Are they synonyms? No. So and then Zadie gave me part of the answer. Yes, you do add them together, but that still doesn't tell me how to find them. If I don't know how to find them, can I use them? No. So yes, I need to explain how to find them, and then once I find them, how do I use them? Victoria. We're just going to skip reading today because we have lots of extra time for wonder at the end of the quarter, so.
You have to take the larger number and the multiplication problem and expand it.
Okay, why are we doing that? What are we finding? When we're finding partial products, what are we finding? If you went back in your book and looked for this word in the lesson, it said exactly what to write here. You find the product of the tens and ones then add them together. You're allowed to go back in your book. The definition for partial products is finding the products of the tens and ones separately, then adding them together. So all you had to do was go back in your book and look for partial products. And it told you exactly. Anytime you have vocabulary, don't just write it. Write what you think the answer is, then go back and look for the word in the lessons to make sure that that's what you meant. Or if you have no idea, don't just guess. Go back. Go ahead. Go back and look at what it means. Once you see what it means, you should be able to find it. Yes, Kingston?
What if you skip one of the questions?
Well, then you get it wrong. You can't skip problems. You have to go back. Okay, so number 2 should say something like, find the product of the tens and ones, then add them together. If yours does not say that exact thing or something that means exactly this, then you need to use your red pen to write that the answer is find the products of the tens and ones, then add them together. Do not do this over your answer. All you need to do is draw a thin line through it if it is completely wrong. If you're not sure if it's wrong, then don't draw a line through it, but you still need to write this. Did you have that answer?
Mm-hmm.
How did you get that answer, Colin? Colin had did you have it almost exactly word for word?
I have it the exact same.
How did you find that? How did you have the same exact answer that I did?
I looked in the book.
And when you looked in the book, Did I change what it said other than maybe adding an S or like moving some small words that don't matter around? Or was this exactly what it said?
Exactly what it said.
See? So it's there. You just have to look for it. Okay, number 3. When you use place value to exchange equal amounts when renaming a number, what are you doing? Victoria. Nope, not multiplying. Multiplying doesn't have anything to do with renaming a number. Who can help her out? Zadie?
You're
Regrouping. Because when we regroup, we're taking an equal amount of ones and exchanging it for the same number of tens. 10 ones is equal to 110. So when we exchange 10 ones for 110 and then rename that number, we are regrouping. So make sure you have regrouping for number 3. Okay, helper number 1. Okay, number 4. The directions for this part say multiply, check for reasonableness. Zadie, number 4 is 23 times 2. How did you check for reasonableness? You estimated. So when we estimate, we do that first. So that means which number, which of these factors do we round?
23.
Which, no matter what, which of the factors, no matter what the equation is, which factor do we estimate? The larger factor. So 23 rounds to 20. Do we do anything with the smaller factor?
No.
No. Now we can solve using basic facts and patterns. 20 times 2 is what? 40. So that means our answer needs to be close to 40 to be reasonable. So if you did not check for reasonableness, you need to use your red pen to check for reasonableness now. You could have used area models. You could have used distributive property, which is the same thing as area models, just without an actual model. Or you could use estimation. If you did not use anything, then with your red pen, you need to do that now. Okay, Smith, make sure that I can see your work, because I can't see it right now. Okay, so Zadie, step 1 when we're multiplying.
You take the smaller factor and multiply it by the larger.
What? Well, okay, what am I doing? That's my whole problem. I'm taking my smaller factor and multiplying it by a larger factor, but what do? What is step 1 whenever I'm multiplying? This is why you've got to use it. I can tell some of you are not using your steps, which means you're not memorizing them. If, when you are doing your homework and your independent practice, you have like 20 problems on your independent practice. So that means 20 times that you should be reading each step. If you read something 20 times in a row, your brain can't help but to just have it stuck in there forever. What is step 1, Michaela? Multiply the ones. Which means we're doing what, Zadie?
We're multiplying 2 times 3.
Which equals?
6.
Okay, step 2, Zadie.
You multiply 10.
Multiply the tens, which means I'm doing what equation?
2 times
2 times 2, which is?
4.
Remember, when I multiply the tens, my smaller factor gets multiplied by all digits in my larger factor. I'm not doing 2 times nothing, because this smaller digit, the smaller factor, gets multiplied by every digit in the larger factor. So Zadie, 23 times 2 is?
46.
Is that pretty close to our estimated answer of 40?
Yes.
So are we probably correct? Which ways are going to tell us if we are exactly correct or not? Which ways of checking for reasonableness are going to tell us 100% we are right or we are wrong? Mason. Area models. What other way? Smith?
Distributive property.
Distributive property, which is exactly what you're doing in an area model, just without a model. Okay, good, but you got to choose. Number 5, 227 times 8. Carla, how did you check for reasonableness?
I use estimation too.
You used estimation. So, that means we do that before we solve. Which of our factors No matter what the problem is, which of our factors are we going to estimate? Or are we going to round?
We're going to round the bigger number.
The bigger number. So in this case, 227 rounds to what?
200.
200. Do we do anything to the smaller factor?
No.
No. So now, Carla, using basic facts and patterns, 200 times 8 is what?
200 times 8 equals 1,600.
Good, 1,600. If you estimated and you do not get the same answer, you need to be checking that as well. Okay, Carla, so that means our answer needs to be close to 1,600. But now we need to solve. So step 1 when we're multiplying is to do what?
Multiply the 1.
Multiply the ones, which means we're doing what equation, Carla?
7 times 8.
Good, and 7 times 8 is what?
56.
56, but we can't put 56 in the ones place. So which of those two digits in 56 goes in the ones place?
We put the 6 in the 1 place.
And then what happens to that other digit, the 5 in the tens place? It
The
gets,
5 get put on top of the 2. In
what is the math word that tells us we are putting it somewhere else?
regroup?
We are regrouping that 5 in the tens place to which place?
The 10.
The tens place. Okay. Now Carla, step 2.
Multiply the 10.
Multiply the tens, which means we're doing what equation? Do we add this before we multiply the tens? Do we add this regroup number before we multiply the tens?
No.
No, definitely not. So step 2 is multiply the tens, which means we're doing what equation?
8 times 2.
8 times 2, which equals?
8 times 2 equals 16.
16. And then what do we do with this regrouped 5?
Add it to the 16.
Good. So 16 plus 5 is
21.
21. We can't write 21 in our tens place. So which digit, the 2 or the 1, goes in our tens place?
The ones go in the 10 place,
Okay.
and we regroup the 2 to the 100.
Good. Now step 3.
Multiply the 100.
Multiply the hundreds, which means we're doing what equation?
8 times 2.
Which equals?
8 times 2 equals 16.
And then what do we do with this regroup number, this 2?
Add 2 to 16.
Good. 16 plus 2 is
18.
18. Now we need to go in and place our comma every how many digits, Carla?
3.
3. 1, 2, 3. 1. We're done. Okay. So Carla, 227 times 8 is what?
Is 1,816.
Good. Is that reasonably close to our estimate, Carla?
Kind of.
Kind of. It's close enough that we can say, okay, I guess we're right. But remember, if you want to be 100% correct, you can use an area model or distributive property. Ethan, please scoot in a little. Okay, are you checking with us? Okay, number 6, 45 times 7. Michaela, what way did you choose to check for reasonableness? Estimation, which means we do that first. Which factor, when we estimate, are we going to round? Our larger factor. So 45 rounds to 50. Very good. Does anything happen to our smaller factor? No. So we're doing 50 times 7. Michaela, using basic facts and patterns, 50 times 7 is what? Not 35. That's what 5 times 7 is. But we have to remember to put this 0 at the end. So 50 times 7 is 350. Don't forget, when you're using basic facts and patterns, do not forget about those zeros at the end of the factors. Okay, so that means our answer needs to be reasonably close to 350 in order to be reasonable. So now we need to solve. What is step 1 when we're multiplying? Multiply the ones, which means we're doing what equation? 5 times 7. 5 times 7 equals what? 35. We can't put 35 in the ones place. Bless you. So which digit goes in the ones place? And then what happens to that 3 in the tens place? To where? The tens place. Good. We regroup the 3 in the tens place to the tens place. Now, step 2. Multiply the tens, which means we're doing what equation? 7 times 4, and that equals 28. What do we do with this regroup 3? Add it to 28. So 7 times 4 is 28, plus 3 is 31. Now we do have 2 digits in 31, but do we have a hundredth place to regroup to? No, so we can just go ahead and put that 3 in the hundredths place of our product. So, Michaela, 45 times 7 is 315. Is that reasonably close to 350? Close enough. Number 7, 612 times 4. Kingston, which way did you choose to check for reasonableness? Estimation, which we do first. Which factor do we round when we are estimating to check for reasonableness? Which factor? Who can help them out? Which factor? Remember, which is just like how many, so that means our answer should be the blank factor. So if I'm asking which factor we estimate, that means your answer should have factor in it. So which factor do we estimate? I can't hear you. The larger factor, which is 612. 612 rounds to 600. Does anything happen to the smaller factor? Okay, using basic facts and patterns, 600 times 4 is?
24,000.
Not 24,000. 2,400. And we need to place our comma. Okay, so that means our answer needs to be close to 2,400. So what's step 1 when we're multiplying? Multiply the ones, which means we're doing what equation? 4 times 2, which equals?
8.
Do we have anything to regroup? No. Step 2, which means we're doing what equation? 4 times 1, which equals?
4.
Do we have to regroup? Okay, step 3.
6 times
Multiply the hundredths, which means we're doing what equation?
6 times
4 times 6, which equals? 24. Do we have a thousands place to regroup to? No, so we can just put that 2 in the thousands place. Now we need to do what? Place our commas every how many digits?
3.
So 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, and we're done. So, Kingston, 612 times 4 is what?
2,448.
2,448. Is that reasonably close to our estimate?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Helper number 1. Okay. So number 8 says, the table shows prices of items at an electronics store. We have the items on one side and the prices on the other. Battery packs are $13. Copper wires are $22. How much would it cost to buy 3 battery packs and 3 copper wires? Zari, is this a problem you can do all in one step?
No.
No. So that means it's multi-step. What do we have to figure out first, Zari?
How much?
Okay.
example, we'll do 13 times.
So you're telling me the
times
number way. Who can tell me the words that tell us what we have to do first? Those are the numbers we have to do first. But I need to hear the words that tell us what we have to do first. Victoria?
We need to take the battery pack price times 3 and the copper wire price times 3 and then add it together.
Okay, that's still the number way. Why are we doing that? Why are we taking the battery pack price and multiplying it by 3 and the copper wire price and multiplying it by 3? Because what do we have to know before we can find our final answer? Cullen?
The equation.
Not the equation. Zari?
We need to know if we're going to need to add.
Well, we already know we're going to have to add. We have to find out how much these items cost. If we don't know how much 3 battery packs are and how much 3 copper wires are, can we figure out how much it is altogether? No. So guys, that's it in words. You need to figure out how much the battery packs are altogether and how much the copper wire how much the copper wires cost altogether. So Zari, that means our first step is to multiply. Well, which one should we find the price of first? The battery packs or the copper wires, or does it really matter?
It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. So tell me, which one did you find first?
I did the battery pack.
Okay, what is the equation that tells us how much the battery packs cost?
13 times 3.
Just 13 times 3?
$13 times 3.
$13 times 3. So now this is where we came to our separate sheet of paper and set it up and down. Right, Zari? Right, Zari?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to write $13 times 3. So step 1 is multiply the ones, which we're doing what? What equation are we doing?
3 times 9.
What is it?
3 times 3.
Which equals?
9.
Did we have to do any regrouping?
No.
No. Okay, now step 2, multiply the tens. What equation are we doing, Zari?
1 times 3.
Which equals?
3.
Now we need to?
Pick the dollar sign.
Good, bring down our dollar sign. So that means $13 times 3 is what, Zari?
$39.
Which means the battery packs cost $39. Well now, are we done with that problem? Is that it? Is that all we had to do?
No.
Or were you wanting to answer the question?
No.
We had
Hold on one second,
the
sorry.
copper wire.
So on this, I accidentally put this first, but I did this second.
Oh.
Like, so this is.
Hold on one second, sorry. Okay, you gotta watch for that. Fix it with your red pen and I'll decide what I'm gonna do. So you just have to watch for that, sure. Okay, so sorry, Zari. What do we need to do next?
We're going to find how much copper wires.
So we need to find out how much the copper wires cost. What's our equation for the copper wires, Zari?
22 times 3.
Just 22?
$22 times 3.
$22 times 3. Now, do we solve that sideways like that?
No.
No. So we come to our separate sheet of paper and we set it up and down. Oops. Let's see. You can't see it at home. Wait, move it over a little. I'll put it here. $22 times 3. Step 1, Zari,
Multiply the ones.
which means we're doing 3 times 2, which equals
6.
step 2,
Multiply the tens.
which means we're doing 3 times 2 again, which equals,
$66.
does 3 times 2 equal $66?
6.
6. Then we,
Put our dollar sign.
good. So that means $22 times 3 is,
$66.
which means the 3 copper wires cost what?
The copper wires cost $66.
Good. Are we done now?
No.
No, because that just tells us, okay, we know the price of the 3 battery packs and we know the price of the 3 copper wires. But to find the answer to how much would it cost to buy 3 battery packs and 3 copper wires, what do we have to do now, Zari?
We have to add $66 plus $39 and then find our answer.
Why are we adding those two numbers? Tell me in words.
Because those are the answers that we got from our problem, so we know how much it is all together.
So we're taking the cost of the
Dollars.
the cost of the dollars. We're taking the cost of the Smith. Can you help her out?
Battery pack.
And we are doing what to the cost for the battery packs? Smith?
Adding them to the cost of the copper wires.
So that we can find out how much it is all together. So Zari, what does our equation for that look like?
$39 plus $66.
$39 plus $66. Now, can we solve that up and down? I'm sorry, can we solve that sideways like that?
No.
No, we have probably a lot of regrouping to do. So, let's go to the side to our separate sheet of paper, and we're going to write $39 plus $66 and add it together. So, Zari, step 1 is to
Add the ones.
9 plus 6 is
15.
15. We can't put 15 in the ones place, so we regroup the 1 to the
Tens place.
tens place. Good. Now, this is where I start to see people have issues. Because they know how to add and they know how to multiply, but they're going really quickly, and instead of adding, they're multiplying, or instead of multiplying, they're adding. So make sure that you're doing the correct operation. I know you know how to do each one. Just watch out and make sure you're doing the right one. So now, Zari, what is step 2 when we're adding?
Add the tens.
Add the tens. 6 plus 3 is
9.
plus 1 is
10.
so that means all together the 3 battery packs and the 3 copper wires cost
$105.
$105. Yes, Sadie.
What I did, I still did what we just did, but I did 30 plus 60, and then I got 90, and then I added 9 plus 6, and then I added the two sums together, and it still got the same answer.
You can do that, but at this point, like, that takes a little longer. So, and we know how to just add up and down. So just make sure that you're doing that. Yes.
Why did you check for reasonableness?
Do the directions say check for reasonableness on this page?
Yes, but you always say until there's more.
Well, if you did, that's okay. But usually for word problems, unless it says check for reasonableness up at the top, you don't have to. So if you did, good, you did extra, and that's okay. It's always good to check for reasonableness, even if you don't have to. Okay, number 9 says, each campsite needs the number of lanterns shown below. How many lanterns are needed for 48 campsites? Mason. First, what's our question? What is our question?
48 campsites.
Is that a question? What's our question? Remember, the first thing we find is our question. So look at these word problems. What is the question? Which part of that word problem asks us a question?
Each campsite needs a lantern.
Who can help him out? What is our question in this word problem? Cullen.
How many lanterns are needed for 48 campsites?
How many lanterns lanterns are needed for 48 campsites? Remember, Mason, the question asks us something. So this is asking us how many lanterns are needed for 48 campsites. The question tells us this is what we need to solve. So now we know to find the answer unit, where do we look, Mason? Not campsites. Where do we look to find the answer unit? This is the same pattern as what we do every time we do examples, Mason. Michaela, where do we look to find the answer unit? After how many? Mason, what word comes right after how many? What noun? Lantern. So that means our answer needs to be an amount of lanterns. Our answer unit is lanterns. Mason, is there anything else that we know 100% that we need yet? No. So let's go back and read from the beginning. Each campsite needs the number of lanterns shown below. What's the first thing we see in that question in that sentence that tells us, hey, this is important? Each. Because each tells us we're doing what? Multiplying or dividing. Then we know the noun that comes after each is our what? Well, that's what the noun is, but what is that noun? We know we need the word that comes after each because it is our, Michaela, our other unit. So we know that we're going to be taking the number of campsites and either multiplying or dividing with the number of lanterns. So let's keep reading. Needs the number of lanterns shown below. Well, I see lanterns, but do I see a number before it, Mason? Because I know I need to look for lanterns. Do I see a number before it? So how do I know how many lanterns? Where do I find the number of lanterns? The picture. So, the number of lanterns shown below is important. How many lanterns is it? 3. So I know that the number of lanterns shown below means 3 lanterns. Do I know my other number, though? I have a number of lanterns, but now I need a number of campsites. Have I found it yet at this point? No. So let's reread our question. It's probably there. How many lanterns are needed for 48 campsites? Well, I see campsites. Do I see a number before it? Yes. So that means 48 campsites is my other number. Now I need to figure out, am I multiplying or dividing? Well, I know my answer has to be a number of lanterns, right? Because that's what my answer unit is. So, am I going to end up with more or less? If 48 campsites each have 3 lanterns, am I going to end up with more or less than 3 lanterns? More, which means I'm doing what operation? Multiplying. So what does my equation look like, Mason? 48 campsites times 3 lanterns. Now, am I going to solve this sideways like this? No. So I'm going to go to my separate sheet of paper. I'll do it right here. Okay, I'll do it right here. And I'm going to set it up and down. 48 times 3. Okay, now I just multiply. Step 1, Mason. Multiply the ones, which means I'm doing what equation? 3 times 8, which equals what? 24. Can I put 24 in the ones place? Which digit goes in the ones place? The 4. What happens to that 2 in the tens place? But what's that math word? That tells us we don't carry it, we regroup it to the tens place. Okay, now step 2. Multiply the tens, which means I'm doing what equation? 3 times 4, which equals? Do I put 12 down here? No, because what do I have to do with this regroup to? Add it to the 12. So 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Now, do I have a hundredths place to regroup that 1 to? No, so I can just put it in my product. Which means 48 times 3 is, but my answer also needs I have my equation. My answer, I need a unit. What is the unit? 144 what? Is it campsites? Does do the 48 campsites need 144 campsites? No, they need 144 lanterns. Oops. Remember, make sure you always have your unit. Okay, make sure you have all of that with red pen. That means for number 8, you needed each of these 3 equations on your paper because you need an equation for each part. And go ahead, helper number 1, please sanitize, erase, sanitize. Okay, so number 10 says there are 1,440 minutes in a day. How many minutes are in 7 days? Explain how to find how many minutes are in 2 weeks. Smith, is this a problem that we can solve all in one step?
No.
No. There are how many questions in this problem?
2 questions.
2. What's the first question?
How many minutes are in 7 days?
How many minutes are in 7 days? What's the second question?
Explain how to find how many minutes are in 2 weeks.
Good. Explain how to find how many minutes are in 2 weeks. Now, when it says explain how to find how many minutes are in 2 weeks, are you just going to show your work and then you're done?
No.
No, because remember, if it says explain period, that just means, hey, your work is showing your answer. But if it says anything else, you have to write your answer in what? Numbers or words, Smith?
Words.
Words. Very good. Okay, let's go ahead and solve the first question first. So, let's look at it. We know how many minutes are in 7 days. What do we look for first in that question?
Our unit.
Which unit?
Our answer unit.
Our answer unit, which is what?
Minutes.
Minutes, because it comes right after how many. Do we know if anything else is important yet?
No.
No. So let's go back and start at the beginning. There are 1,440 minutes in a day. What's that first piece of important information we know we see there?
There are 1,440 minutes in a day.
Well, which part is important? That you just repeated the sentence. But my question was, what do we know is the first important part in that sentence?
The number of minutes.
So 1,440 minutes, because we see our answer unit with a number before it. Okay, now all we have is in a day. I don't see each anywhere. But if we say in a day, what does that mean exactly the same thing as, Smith?
Each.
Each day. So in a is basically saying each, which tells us we're doing what?
Multiplication or division.
Multiplication or division. And since we know in a means something very similar, what do we know about the word that comes after in a?
It is our other unit.
So day is our other unit, which means we're looking for a number of minutes, which we've already found, and a number of days, which have we found that yet?
No.
No. So let's keep reading. How many minutes are in 7 days? Did we find our other unit with a number before it?
Yes.
So what's important that we need to put a box around in that question?
7 days.
7 days. Good. So to solve the first part of our question, or our first question, sorry, we need to figure out what to do with the number of minutes, 1,440 minutes, and the number of days, which is 7 days. If we have 1,440 minutes in each day, are we going to end up with more or less than 1,440 minutes?
More.
Which means we are
Multiplying.
Multiplying. So we're taking 1,440 minutes and multiplying it by 7 days. Now, are we going to solve this sideways like this?
No.
No. So we're going to our separate sheet of paper and we're writing it up and down. Okay, Smith, step 1.
Multiply the tens.
What is it?
0.
What's step 1? Do we multiply the tens first?
Oh, multiply the ones.
There you go, which means we're doing what equation?
7 times 0.
Which equals
0.
0. Okay, step 2,
Multiply the tens.
which means we're doing 7 times 4. 7 times 4 equals,
28.
can we put 28 in the tens place?
No.
So which digit stays in the tens place?
The 8.
The 8. And what happens to that 2?
We regroup it to the hundreds place.
Good. Now, step 3,
Multiply the hundreds.
which means we're doing 7 times 4. 7 times 4 equals,
28.
do we just write 28?
No.
Because what do we have to do first?
Add the regrouped number.
Okay, so 7 times 4 is 28. 28 plus 2 is
30.
30. Can we put 30 in the hundreds place?
No.
Which digit stays in the hundreds place?
The 0.
And what happens to that other digit?
We regroup it to the thousands place.
Good. Now, what do we do next? What's the 4th step?
Multiply the thousands.
Which means we're doing what equation?
7 times 1.
Which equals,
7.
but are we putting 7 down here?
No.
Because we have to,
Add the regrouped number.
so 7 times 1 is 7, plus 3 is,
10.
good. Do we have a 10,000s place to regroup to?
No.
No, so we can just put that digit in the 10,000s place. Okay, what do we need to do last?
Place the comma every 3 digits.
Good. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, none. So that means 1,440 times 7, or the answer to our first question, how many minutes are in 7 days, is what?
10,080.
10,080 what?
Minutes.
Minutes. Okay, so we're done with the first part. Are we done though, Smith?
No.
No, because we have our second question. Explain how to find how many minutes are in 2 weeks. So what do? We know there are 10,080 minutes in 7 days. 7 days is the same as what?
1 week.
1 week. So if we're trying to find how many minutes there are in 2 weeks, tell me in words, what should we do? You might have to use a number in those words.
You can add 7 plus 7 to get to 2 weeks.
Okay, well, we don't need to add 7 plus 7 though, because that would just give us 14. Is that the answer to how many
No.
minutes are in 2 weeks?
No.
No. And do we really need to multiply 1,440 times 14? Do we even know
No.
how to do that multiplication yet? No,
No.
but we already know how many minutes are in 1 week. So that means we just need to take our answer and do what?
Multiply it by 2.
Good. So in words, explain how to find how many minutes are in 2 weeks.
You multiply 10,080 times 2.
Why are we multiplying 10,080 times 2?
So that we can find out how many minutes are in 2 weeks.
Well, why are we using 10,080?
Because that is how many minutes are in 1 week.
So we multiply the number of minutes in 1 week by 2? Because how do we know how many minutes are in 1 week? How do we know how many minutes are in 1 week? Zari?
We know how much minutes are in one week because you did 7 days is a week, and you did 1,440 times 7, which is a week. So you would basically just define your
Just give her a minute. She'll come back.
next answer you would do defining.
Good. Okay. You cut out a little bit, but I know what you were saying. So what Zari was saying is the reason that we know how many minutes are in 1 week is because we figured out how many minutes were in 7 days. 7 days is exactly the same as 1 week. Remember, 5 days are not in a week. That's just how many days we go to school or work. Sometimes people do more. But a week has 7 days. So if we found out how many minutes were in 7 days, then we already know how many minutes are in 1 week. If we want to find how many minutes are in 2 weeks, well, we take the number of minutes in 1 week, or 7 days, and multiply it by 2. Because is there going to be a different number of minutes in the second week? Is that possible? No. It's not possible. There are 7 days in a week, no matter what. Okay, number 11. Mohammed used an area model to show 4 times 35. So here's our area model. We have some missing numbers. What is the missing number? Michaela, are we going to have a different missing number here and here? Are we going to have 2 different missing numbers? No. What is the missing number? 30, which is? Which number? C. C. 30. Because, why is it 30, Michaela? What did we do with 35? What do we have to do first? And 35 in expanded form is what? 30 plus 5. And when we're using an area model, we're multiplying our smaller factor by each piece of the larger factor, which means we're multiplying by the what place? Tens place in the larger part of our area model, and the ones place in the smaller part. Very good. Was there any work that you had to show me for that? No, because you're not solving anything. You're just figuring out what's missing. Okay, so everybody, go ahead and when I call your name at school, go ahead and turn it into the math tray. Those of you at home, put it somewhere for it to be scanned later today. Yes, Zadie.
Can we scan them right now?
Yeah, sure. What's your question?
What I did was I thought it was 30, and so I was like, just to check, I went back and said, okay, it can't be 3, and then I did it on my separate sheet of paper, and it couldn't be 5, and it couldn't be 50.
Exactly, good, yes. Checking multiple choice means doing that. Why are the other answers wrong? When you check multiple choice, you want to go through and figure, once you pick the right answer, then you want to say, just to make sure, why are the other answers wrong? Yes, Smith.
May I go to the restroom?
Yes, go ahead and go quickly. Michaela, go ahead and turn yours in. Make sure you turn it in with the separate sheet of paper underneath. Make sure your names are on the separate sheet of paper. Yes, sorry.
Did you still want the answer?
The answer to the problem?
No, you were asking why
Mason, go ahead.
we should still go over everything else on
Sure.
the notes.
Yes, why should we still go over everything else? Victoria?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Quickly, Victoria. Zadie, go ahead. Yes. I can't turn it on because it gets like unbearable within seconds, but I can turn it up a little. Colin? Yes, Carla.
I thought you was gonna wonder about what I was wearing because my mom had got this at Target, and when my mom was asking me what pajamas I want, I just bought it Animal Crossing New Horizon pajamas.
Ah, cool. Very cool. Okay, so we have a little over 20 minutes. No, I'm sorry, a little over 10 minutes until specials start.